Buenos dias, YouTube. Feliz Cinco de Mayo, or as you Americans like to call it, Drinko de Mayo. Oh, yes. How are you today? Today's a good day to celebrate with some tequila shots and a poncho or sarape and a sombrero, as you call it, a hat. But of course, we all know today is not Mexican Independence Day. Hey YouTube, it's the Morning Brew. I left my donkey out in the back, because when I'm collecting coffee, even that's Colombians, not Mexicans. But anyways, good morning everybody. How was your weekend? I hope it was good. Mine was pretty good too. I will say this, for those of you who are not aware of this, Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day. That is September 16th. Now, to clarify and make it clear to all of you, there is a reason to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, just not for Americans. For Mexicans, ironically, it's called La Batalla de Puebla, the Battle of Puebla, which essentially was us fighting off the French. Basic farmers managed to fight off Napoleon III's army. Here's the irony where I think it's hilarious that we celebrate it here in America and not so much in Mexico. The reason the French were here is they were collecting debt for basically loans Mexico took out for wartime. Wartime loans were up and Mexicans fought off the French debt collectors. Or as I like to refer to it, it's when Chapter 7 came to be. Yeah. Basically, all of you are out there right now celebrating Cinco de Mayo or Drinko de Mayo because Mexicans managed to evade paying their bills. So congratulations. This is what we still do to this day. We managed to just avoid paying our bills. And so on Cinco de Mayo should really be celebrated by America because we're just not going to pay you American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Sprint, AT&T, Nextel. Well, it used to be Nextel, now it's Sprint. Man. Yeah, go ahead and celebrate Cinco de Mayo. It's the day that everybody who's in serious debt should be celebrating today because you don't have a small Mexican army to fight off your debts. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I did have plans to do this whole bit in Spanish-ish accent, doing the, hey, how you doing today, man? It's a great day in America. It's the Morning Brew. Okay? I was going to do that whole thing, a whole like Dora the Explorer bit, if I had managed to get a sarape, which is a poncho, and a sombrero. Surprisingly, for as many white friends as I have, not a single one had a sarape or poncho or a hat. Now you would think. Now I'm sure some of you are thinking, especially those of you up in further north in Canada, are thinking, "Hey, but you're Mexican." Nope, I am Mexican. I just don't. There's no reason for me to have any of that stuff at home. I mean, I could have just easily gone across the border and bought it over the weekend for like dirt cheap. But part of me feels offended of my own actions if I actually paid for something like that. Which at this point I really wish I would have bought one of those big old fake mustaches at least to pull that off a little bit more entertainingly. But anyways, excuse me. Cinco de Mayo is catching up with me already. Today's show, brought to you by the letter C. That's a couple of decent stories, and I'm going to start off with the two stories that are next and at the very end, because the story in the middle is going to take up some serious drama time, if you want to say. But first, another update on the resin work. So, the skull and crossbones I showed you, I've been using tips and tricks to try and save money on it. And one of the things I didn't want to have to buy was mold release, which is a spray you put on your molds so that the resin doesn't stick to them and you can have an easy, quick release. Now, I've mentioned that sometimes you just take a hammer and pop them out, but when you have rubber-like or, molds, that doesn't help or work ever. So somebody suggested Pam, the spray, not the girl from The Office. And unfortunately, the only Pam we have in the house is a hickory smoked Pam. Hickory smoked Pam. Anyways, so my black and skull and crossbones have a distinct hickory smoke scent. Now I'm going to test out a theory and finish sealing them off and painting them the way I wanted to, and then place them in my car, or even go as far as putting them in the microwave or the oven to see if the heat will actually release the scent. Because if it does, then I've discovered a whole new way to make resin pieces that are scented, which opens up a whole new market for me. That'll be interesting. Anyways, so with that, that's basically the update there. Weekend didn't have much to offer in the sense of anything more. Oh, except for the part where I finally watched Star Wars. Y'all can get off my ass about it. Yes, I finally sat down with my son. We watched Star Wars. After many, many years of avoiding the series because of fear I would not be as impressed as I thought, as everybody else seems to be, I came to the conclusion in a review that I probably will most likely write up soon. But essentially, I'll say this: I do have a capability of watching the original unedited, unenhanced versions, as Lucas wants to call them. I chose to watch the enhanced versions because, well, essentially, that's Lucas's, what he claims was his original vision, which he wishes he could have pulled off back then. So I went with that one. Oh, I'm alright with it. I'm not impressed, I'm not disappointed, but I always said that, knowing the films as well as I do, nothing George Lucas could put on film could ever accumulate the images in my head, or the way I would visualize certain action sequences or certain effects. It just wasn't possible. Excuse me once more. And, I give them credit for what they are, and I give them credit for the time they were filmed. I still enjoy them. I'm not going to say I hate them. I've watched the other trilogy. I absolutely despise most of it. I hate the first episode. I like the second episode plenty because of the action, not so much the story. And the third one was alright, I guess. It gave a good, so that's how he loses the lambs and gets all crazy and fucked up on the lungs. But, we'll see what Disney does with it. And, there was an article somebody wrote that claimed that, Star Wars films were already Disney films to begin with. I'll try and put up a link in the comments if I remember where to find it, but I think it was Smosh who did that one. Also, I'll be putting up the Smosh link in the comments or in the Geeky Castillo website. So, yeah, fun times with all that stuff. So let's get on with the news. So, finally, we get some leaked pictures, or official pictures, from Telltale Games / Gearbox's Tales from the Borderlands game. Now, if you're not aware of this, much like I wasn't, apparently there's a Borderlands game coming out on top of the prequel-sequel called Tales from the Borderlands, where Telltale Games will actually be doing their usual fantastic magic they've done with The Walking Dead and Back to the Future. And this time we'll have a two-sided story. One from a Hyperion employee by the name of Riz, and a Karn artist by the name of Fiona. And essentially we'll be seeing both sides of the story of how they came to meet. Now, as somebody pointed out, it is the Borderlands, so who knows if either one of us is actually telling the truth, let alone if we can trust either one of them. Of course, in typical Telltale Games fashion, you will make your choices, and your choices will affect parts of the story, and in the end you'll get an individual game and play experience. Now, the one thing I'll say about Telltale Games is I wish they kind of had the Heavy Rain effect where if you got multiple branching storylines, you should not have a retry button if you fail something. Like, if you fail, you failed, and the game should branch out from there. Much like Heavy Rain. If somebody died or somebody failed a task, you kind of kept going. Left them behind. Left them dead if they needed to be dead. Anyways, so I should be showing them some screens. I haven't found any trailers yet. If I do, they're there. But it looks good. It looks fun. I really do enjoy Telltale Games mechanics. I played through the entire Back to the Future game. And I will be playing the Walking Dead game soon. Even though I should have gotten onto that long ago. Oh well. So, yeah. Happy news and good news. And then there's surprising news. Spider-Man 2 opened up to a $92 million weekend. Now, funny thing is, Sam Raimi's version of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 opened up with a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Amazing Spider-Man 2 opened up with a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. And still managed to snag up $92 million so far. Now, what the studies have shown is that even though the opening midnight showing was terrible in comparison to what they were expecting, they still managed to pack the house over the weekend with families. So that's the interesting part. As far as the fans are concerned, it's a weak opening and it's a weak film and it's not that great, even though some people have told me otherwise. But it does have a resonance with children, and that makes sense. It's Spider-Man. He always will have a resonance with children. It's a superhero movie. I saw parents taking kids to Kick-Ass, thinking that Kick-Ass was kid-friendly, and then you see Kick-Ass banging the crap out of his girlfriend in the trash cans behind the comic book shop. Multiple times. So anyways, Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2 looks like it will be successful in the sense of monetarily. Not so much in the fans appreciating what it is. I don't blame them. Like I said before, I'm not too impressed with the trailers, and they actually make me want to watch the movie less and less. Recommendations from fellow YouTubers are starting to sway me into like, hey, go check it out. But until I see The Winter Soldier, I make no efforts. I might just wait till the DVD release of Winter Soldier because I don't have the funds otherwise. Anyways. This is going to be the last story of the day, basically, because it's going to take a bit to get through everything about it. And I mean everything. So, SNL had a skit over the weekend called The Number One Slave Draft Pick by Leslie Jones. Fantastic skit. Hilarious skit. In fact, truthful skit. Well, apparently the truth hurts. And it hurts a little too much, according to Ebony.com, who called her an embarrassment. Now, if you're not aware what Ebony.com is, it's a black culture website, blah, blah, blah. Here's what bugs me on two different levels. The skit is a skit. It's a joke. It's a comedy skit. Now, to quote Leslie Jones, she said, "What is the embarrassment? If Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle had done this in a joke, you'd laugh. If Kanye West or Jay-Z put it into lyrics, you'd think it was poetic and strong. But it comes from a woman, so it's bad." Or she put a strong black woman. I've never believed in the term strong anything. Strong black woman, strong woman. Women are strong, period. Men are strong, period. You don't have to go define you are a strong, independent black woman or you are a strong black woman, period, to tell me that you're strong. If you're willing to speak out and speak the truth, you are, by definition, a strong person. A person who stands up for their beliefs doesn't need to state it. So I would appreciate in the future if people kept that in mind when they want to state something. You don't have to start off with, "I'm a strong, independent, blah, blah, blah." I don't sit here and go, "I'm a strong, well-spoken Mexican, and I'm going to tell you this." I sit here and just tell you what I feel. So, outside of that little tidbit, Leslie proceeded to say, and I have to read this. It's actually pretty interesting stuff. And here's where, well, I'll read that the second part in a bit. Okay. To paraphrase, it's a shame that we kill each other instead of support each other. This is exactly why black people are where we are now. Because we're too effing sensitive, and instead of making lemonade out of lemons, we just suck the sour juice from the lemons. Wake up. Granted, I completely agree. I did state in my video whiteface, whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of it. It's been a while. But the link's up here. I did state how our cultures seem to hold each other back on purpose. They seem to whine and complain about every little tidbit and sensitivity. Now, earlier this morning, I was on Twitter when a certain toy company, and I'll put the picture up here, and their Twitter ran around here, so you can tell them themselves. They used a monkey with a sombrero to say, Happy Cinco de Mayo. Now, any other culture, specifically the black culture, would see a monkey celebrating one of their holidays as a representation of the company, and Jesse Jackson would come out in a tracksuit and start bitching and complaining. Now, luckily for them, there is a Mexican Jesse Jackson. We do wear tracksuits, much like Italians, but we don't bitch about it. Now, I pointed out that you should be glad Mexicans aren't as sensitive as blacks seem to be. Hate me if you want, but this particular story proves it. They bitch out a comedian for making a joke. A joke that had some truth and some facts to it. A joke that pointed out a harsh reality of what it used to be. Yes, a 6 foot tall, strong, larger build woman, as she put it, Mandingo, in her own words, would be picked to be a breeding source for slaves. Yes, it's true, because it's a fact. It's not her making a joke, it's stating a fact. Now, what bothers me is that she was also quoted as saying, if anybody should be offended, it should be white folk, because is what they did. Here's the thing. Wrong. Nobody should be ashamed anymore about the crap that happened back in those days. Why? Because we had nothing to do with it at this point. We don't sit here, I don't sit here with my elaborated cards of trying to, pick and trade the slaves I want. I'm part white. I'm very, very far part, white. But why should anybody who's full white feel any shame for what happened in the past? I think Corolla said it best. His family was so broke they didn't even have slaves, so why should he feel any shame for what happened? So I was with her up until that point, where she feels that somebody should feel shame for it. It should be white people. Wrong. As I said it before in other videos. The mistakes of the past are what they are. Mistakes in the past. Nothing more. We had nothing to do with slavery. We weren't even around in slavery days. Our ancestors were. My ancestors, for the most part, sacrificed virgins and ate their hearts. Do I feel shame for that? No. Should I feel bad that they did that? No. That's what the times were. That's how things used to work. And there's no shame in that because we learned from it. If we don't learn from our mistakes, we never change. So if we had not learned from what slavery did and what those terrible times did to our culture, we'd still have them. We learned though. We learned that it was the wrong thing to do. We learned that it was a shameful thing to have. We were one of the last countries. We're not the last country, by the way. There are still countries that have slavery. But we were one of the last first world countries to actually take away and abolish slavery. Should we feel shame for that? Not really. And here's why. The countries that took it out first were European countries. They were all near each other, so they influence each other quite directly. The European Union has a very direct influence all over itself. The United States, on the other hand, doesn't have anybody that influences them directly. Not even Canada, not even Mexico. U.S. kind of does its own thing because it's the largest country on the continent. And so nobody tells it what to do, basically. So once again, should we feel shame for what happened? No. Should we feel proud that we've learned and moved on from it? Yes, for sure. You should definitely be proud that your culture moved on. You should definitely be proud that you learned your lesson and moved on. So, in conclusion, when I open up with my Cinco de Mayo joke, you can be incredibly offended if you want. Or, here's the permission from a Mexican to everybody else. You can laugh about it. You can laugh at the fact that we celebrate a day where Mexicans avoided debt by going to war, when the debt was about war. And today you can laugh at the fact that Leslie Jones made a great skit about the #1 draft pick for slaves. And feel absolutely no shame whether you're white, black, Mexican, or Asian, or anything else in between. Feel no shame. Regardless of your gender, your race, or religious beliefs, there's no reason you should be ashamed of the mistakes you made in the past. Unless you want to live like Germany. In Germany, anything has to do with Hitler or Nazism is forbidden. They are so ashamed that they police themselves from ever having anything like that around. You will go to jail if anybody sees that you have Hitler on your cell phone or a Nazi symbol anywhere on your body. So let's learn from those mistakes. Don't feel shame. Acknowledge it and move forward. So with that, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Go get wasted, go get plastered, go celebrate the fact that everybody's a debt evader. So I will see you all tomorrow. Please subscribe, share, and like, and the usual stuff. Feedback in the comment section if you want. So I'll see you tomorrow or whenever I see you next. But until then, enjoy your brew. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching the end of the video. I really appreciate every minute you spend with me. So here's the other thing I need from you. I need you to click the subscribe button. I need you to click on those playlists down there, the Nerd Block, the Morning Brew playlist, of course Late Night Rants, which I know I haven't gotten around too much, but I will, I promise. And of course, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter, hit up geekycastillo.com. I write some great articles and reviews, and I'm constantly trying to interact with you. That's all I'm asking for. A little click, a little tickle, maybe get a pickle.